Um, Hello, everybody. This is Jennifer Pope Baker, and thank you for logging in. I'm president of Women's Fund of Central Indiana, and as you are logging into our conversation today, I will be chatting with Danielle Shockey, who's CEO of Girl Scouts, and Lucretia Hollins, who works in programming at the Mlk Center. And then we will be excited to tell you about the work that Women's Fund is supporting in both of those organizations, as well as the work that the organizations are doing beyond Women's Fund as well. But while we're waiting for everybody to get in, we have about half the people now. We're just going to chat. And so this weekend is a huge weekend in Indianapolis, and everybody loves a long weekend, but Danielle and Lucretia, just very briefly, 30 seconds, like what makes Memorial Day weekend special for you and your family? Are you race people, or do you spend your weekend in a different way?
Well, I guess family, getting together with family. It'll look different this year, still with the pandemic going on, but we'll be able to be together, kind of hang out in the yard and be together.
The same. I think it's the tradition. So my family's motto is you can only do the race when you're on water. So whether that's floating in a pool or on a boat or someplace. So that's kind of our family thing, is we don't want to be hot and sweaty at the track, but we love listening to the race. So tradition.
That's fun. I think that this weekend might be my 30th race. I think it's something like that. And this will be only the second time that I think it'll be cold enough that I'll wear pants. I wore jeans one other time, but I'm excited that it's not supposed to be 195 degrees while I'm at the race this year, especially since we need to wear our masks while we're there.
I'm hopeful for tomorrow. I'm going out to Carb Day, and I just need the weather gods to cooperate. It's not looking awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing where we, what this last 17 months, the 16, 17 months have looked like for us. So most of the people are on. It's a few minutes after 12. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to all of our friends from Women's Fund. If you're new to Women's Fund, I'm happy that you are coming to find out a little bit about who we are. And then some of the people who are registered for today have been our faithful friends for all 25 years of our existence. It's our 25th anniversary this year. Women's Fund role in the community that we endeavor to play is to provide support to women and girls, to help women and girls move from poverty to a lifetime of economic security in a variety of ways. We are committed to lifting up the voices of women who've been silenced and underappreciated. We're deeply committed to racial equity and strive to be an anti-racist organization and provide support to organizations who share similar values to us, who have leadership that is reflective of our community, who have boards whose composition is at least 50% women, who have boards that reflect gender diversity as well. I mean, racial diversity as well as gender diversity. And that we hope that every woman and girl has an opportunity to succeed no matter her race, place, or identity. And so today, we have invited Danielle Shockey and Lucretia Hollins to talk with us about Girl Scouts and about the Mlk Center. So you can hear a couple of things. One, about the work and the role that they play in our community, how the pandemic has changed things for the girls that they serve, and what they're seeing with girls right now, the impact of the pandemic and what their hopes are for the future. And I'm going to start by asking each of them to tell you a little bit about their organization. I'm going to ask Danielle first, because I think a lot of people feel like they know Girl Scouts, but Girl Scouts has changed a lot since I was a Girl Scout and even since I was a Girl Scout leader. I think people often identify Girl Scouts with the 3 C's: cookies, camping, and crafts, and you're a lot bigger than that. So Danielle, tell us a little bit about what does modern Girl Scouting look like?
You're so right. And I think that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years, is continuing to tell our story. because we are so much more than what you just described. We are 4 pillars, all of which are dedicated ultimately in lifting girls' voices. Our mission is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. And my favorite part is that making the world a better place, without sounding cliche, but what I think we do really well is helping them figure out what that means for them. So what does their world look like? And what would it look like if it were better for them in their future, or for their families, or for, you know, their next generations, and helping them then have the courage and the confidence and the character and the skill set to tackle that, right? And we do that through 4 pillars. And those pillars are entrepreneurship, STEM, outdoor adventure, because we also want to have some fun, but then life skills. And that life skills space is everything you expect it to be. It's the soft skills, it's the communications, the teamwork, and all of those components. And all 4 of those rolled up together give them what we call as the Girl Scout leadership experience. I think one thing, and my mom was my troop leader, and we were in the basement, and it looks so different than that. The Girl Scouts organization nationally brings with it such a trusted brand that we now have some of the most amazing partners who help us write our Girl Scout content and curriculum. So when you think about a Girl Scout engaging in a STEM badge, it's not my mom trying to teach coding. It is, you know, our partners in the community. It is Raytheon writing the curriculum with Girl Scouts at the national level. It is Apple, it is Dell, it is you name the national content that we provide in Girl Scouts, and there's a partner who is on the cutting edge of what our girls need to understand for their future. So I think that's the part that's probably changed the most, is that we are bringing girls rigorous content, and we give them a choice. And so I think that's the other really important thing, is every year in your year in Girl Scouts, girls come together in a troop with that's the other part. You know, this amazing mentor, this woman who has dedicated her time, or a woman, or 2 or 3 to be their troop leaders, to dedicate their time to walk through this year with the Girl Scouts. And they're looking at a program guide of just amazing opportunities, whether it's a week at a university, or it's traveling. So that, I think, is kind of part of the power. They have a voice to delve into things that are important to them. And then ultimately, how do you take all that information and employ it to make the world a better place around them? That was a really long answer, Jennifer, and I apologize if that was too much.
No,
I'm
it's not
excited
too
about
much.
what we do. I love it.
It's so important, because scouting has changed so much. When you were talking about STEM and about this isn't your mom teaching people how to code. My mom was my Girl Scout leader. Her mom was her leader. I was my daughter's leader. So this kind of runs deep with us. But I was thinking about coding when I was in Girl Scouts, and I'm betraying my age here. I'm going to be 54 years old this year. And so computers were kind of a new, a sci-fi thing when I was younger. And I remember we had a Girl Scout activity where we had those punch cards that were like the size of a number 10 envelope. And somebody given them to us, and we used them, like folded them and made them into Christmas wreaths. So that was our STEM connection when I was in Girl Scouts. So that certainly has changed. And I love, Danielle, your leadership in this. And I think it's important for our guests to know that you come to Girl Scouts, while you've only been there for 3 years, with 20 years that you've dedicated to the youth in Indiana, in that you're the mother of 4 girls, from 8th grade through a senior in college, and you have a daughter graduating from high school tonight. So you have lived experience that you're bringing to your work, and understand how girls are going to respond to things. And for someone to spend 20 years deeply engaged in the youth in our state, and then now particularly focused on girls, is transformative. So thank you for that. Appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Happy, humbled to do so.
So I want to introduce Lucretia Hollins now with the Mlk Center. And when I was speaking with Lucretia earlier, and I said, what the most important things you think people should know about you? She said that she loves children, and she believes that the children are our future, and it's up to us to change the narrative for young people, and to give them the space to and the opportunity to be as wonderful as they are. I also learned that Lucretia is getting ready to, in the fall, become a student teacher, and she's getting ready to get her bachelor's degree in general education and a special education license. And she was at Ivy Tech and then IUPUI, where she's been on the honor roll and dean's list the whole time. So a great example to the girls that she's working with every day. And she knows how hard it's been to learn online during the pandemic, because she's been doing that while she's been working full time. So Lucretia, tell us a little bit about the MLK Center. I think that people probably can figure out the MLK part, Martin Luther King Jr., but what do you do? What's the role of the MLK Center in Indianapolis?
Oh my gosh, there are so many great things that happens here. When a lot of people don't know we're here, but when they find out all of these great things that happen here. I'll start with like the families. We work with families. We provide one-on-one support with families that may be struggling with rental assistance, maybe utilities. So we kind of coach them. They have a group of people that work with them and coaching them with being able to get jobs and to stay on having jobs. And we also have a program, which since the pandemic happened, we don't have that anymore, where you can get your high school diploma, GED. We also have, still want to stay with the families a little bit, just different things to help families kind of stay in the know.
You provide food to families.
Yes, we provide.
Food insecure, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we had a food pantry for a while until the pandemic. And then when the pandemic happened, we delivered food to people. So it was like the staff here decided that we have to do something. We can't just, stay at home. We want to provide to those families that we serve every day. So when it first hit, we were like serving food, taking it to door. I mean, we just didn't give up. So that was kind of a little bit about our families. The Midtown Get Around that we have now, they provide transportation to and from like doctor's appointments, grocery stores, and it's a little $2. And if they don't have the $2, we try to find resources so they can be able to get where they need to go. Our after school program is kind of like one of the, I'm new to the after school program coordinator position. So I'm still kind of learning the different things that come along with it. As far as Indy Learning Team, they provide a reading piece here, and all of our kids are reading at grade level. Before they were a little bit under the grade level, but I'm happy to say that they're all at grade level. It's a huge accomplishment for the kids in the community that's not used to reading books at home. They're like, now they can read a whole book to you, grade level book. So I'm excited about that. We do have a summer program that's going to be taking off June 7th to July 23rd. And I'm coordinating a lot of different things in that department. I'm excited to have a horse that's going to be here periodically throughout the summer named Cody. The children don't know yet, so that's going to be good for kids that's haven't been to a farm or maybe never seen a horse. I don't know, but they'll get the opportunity to have that brought here at the Mlk Center.
That's wonderful. The horse equine therapy is well known to be a really great resource for people and calming. And,
yes, we have the teamwork crew that's going to be here as well, where they get a weekly pay for being here, a part of the work crew. They'll do the work, they'll do some work, but they'll also be a part of a conflict resolution training where they'll kind of learn how to handle conflict without outbursts. They'll be able to manage those conflicts inside without usually what they would normally do. So they're getting better with that. We have a nonviolence training that'll take place with all of our youth. I think they'll have that for maybe 2 weeks. They'll get the training with that. And I've also, all of the staff here have had that training as well. It's wonderful. So I know that they will get some things from that.
That's wonderful. So now I want to ask the two of you to talk. Danielle, I want to have you talk about troops. What do Girl Scout troops look like now? Because some of them certainly look like probably the Girl Scout troop that I led with my daughter, and other people who are on this call who may have been Girl Scout leaders or Girl Scouts. But you also do special troops that are very different than the ones that people might imagine. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So you're right. We have we have troops that are multi-age troops. We have troops that are huge. We have troops that are small. We have troops that stay together for 12 years. Just this weekend, we posted a picture of a group of girls who've been together for 12 years, all in their cap and gowns with their green Girl Scout cord, right? So there's that. But then we also do what I call affinity troops, meaning that they all have something in common. And these have ebbed and flowed. And there's always some happening in the organization. For example, girls who were adopted has been an affinity group. And so they're all in a troop together. Specific girls who've been adopted from Asian cultures have been affinity groups that are together. In the past, we've done Girl Scouts behind bars. So girls whose adult female role model is incarcerated. And part of the structure has been for the women that are behind bars to actually earn time to see their daughter or the girl in their life in the facility. We've done, and we do very actively seek to do troops in our immigrant to Indiana cultures where language might be a barrier. So we have very active Burmese outreach and Burmese troops. We have troops of older girls who want to be independent, that they're called Juliets, and they want to stay in Girl Scouts and they want to continue participating in all the great programs we offer. They maybe want to travel with Girl Scouts around the world. So they become Juliets, which means they can continue in Girl Scouts, but they don't have a troop in a traditional sense, but they come together in an online way. And so we've learned lots of new ways to even connect girls into a troop setting. And I don't know, Jennifer, this is not exactly a troop, but we also serve adults. We do things with adult women who want to grow their leadership skill set. And so we do a program that's been about 14 years old now. Latina's taking the lead, and those are Latino women in our community. So yeah, there's back to the affinity thing too. We even do girls that you might be in a troop in a traditional sense, but then you're really into one aspect of STEM, or you really are into rock climbing, or you want to, do something in a unique space. You can also be a part of your troop and this other kind of affinity group. So yeah, there is a lot of different ways. And then we do push-in troops where in some of our community centers, some of our boys and girls clubs, we do things with big brothers, big sisters. So this 2 years right before COVID, we for the first time partnered with big brothers, big sisters, and bigs and littles could be in a troop together. So again, I feel, again, I can't take credit. So I pride this organization in always making sure the barriers are broken down and that we're pushing in where we can, where having girls come to us in a traditional way isn't possible.
Thank you. And in a minute, I'm going to ask both of you to talk about how the pandemic has had an impact on the services that you provide and to the girls that you work with. But first, Lucretia, can you talk about the work you do with girls without the pandemic lens first, but just what do you do with girls at the Mlk Center and then you specifically?
Oh my gosh, I do everything. Just be myself, model what I want. I think more than anything, it's like I'm almost like a big sister. We do etiquette here, kind of coaching them to just be teaching them how to be young ladies. A lot of the girls here, they may live in homes where mom is absent. They may live in like group homes, a foster home. We have a couple young ladies that we're staying in like foster homes. So I try to give them that niche of a lady. We work with them like with life skill training. We give them that to kind of help them with how to handle things, hygiene, different things like that they may not have been taught or know anything of. And the biggest thing is like the conflict resolution. A lot of times in these communities, when they don't have, that's where the conflict comes in. And we provide a lot of those supports that they don't have here so that we can kind of kick the conflict out and just kind of teach them how to handle those different areas.
So much like Girl Scouts is doing with having, push-in troops and affinity groups and meeting people where they are. I remember it was really exciting to read the grant application from the Mlk Center about the work that we funded that you do, because it was not about waiting for the girls to walk in the front door.
Right. Yeah. We
So
actually
talk a little bit about what you're doing in that space.
So I actually go out and get them. So we partner with School 43, and a lot of the young ladies actually go to that school. And then we have some that live on the surrounding parts that maybe go to schools that is like with kind of like on the line of a school that may be close to here, but there may be cousins, two kids that go to 43. So we kind of just like network. I network, I go out into the communities and find the young ladies and get them in and kind of coach them. Last summer, it was kind of hard with the pandemic, but we still had a good group of kids, and we took them downtown to see the mural that was put in the street there. It was a little different, but we still had programming. They was able to have some programming.
So when it's non-pandemic, prior to the pandemic, Lucretia, when you were out finding the girls, what were you saying to them to entice them to engage in the programming and the work that you were doing?
Just that we have, that we have tutors. A lot of them were struggling with their grades. We have tutors there that can help them with that. Just that we have resources. A lot of them, don't have resources, and they would come here and they were able to, have the resources to be able to be successful in school. And then the mentoring, they need mentoring. A lot of them, need a voice. They need somebody to, to model something that they need to see, and they can grow from that. Myself, I always use myself, with having very little, and, still places like the Mlk Center, what helped me when I was their age. So they come here and they get that from us, to be able to be successful in school.
How would you describe, if you had to generalize the profile of the girls that you serve in the programming you do, Lucretia? How would you generalize that profile? Every girl is an individual.
How would I describe? Because they're all kind of so different.
So is generally as a general racial profile, socioeconomics, education?
I would say that they're all, 99% of them are Black, single parent homes, below poverty. They live in the community, and they're pretty much in the same school.
Danielle, talk for us a little bit about how the pandemic changed the kind of programming that you were able to do, because you do a lot of school-based programming, and the troops coming from schools or affinity groups and meeting in church basements and in schools and community centers. What happened to Girl Scouts?
So I actually think this was a silver lining for Girl Scouts nationally and locally, because we always talked about, gosh, we need to figure out other ways to offer Girl Scouts, because not every girl can get there in person, but they want to be engaged. So first and foremost, it urgently had us switching our platform and providing our content and our curriculum around badges and patches into a virtual space. So I think that will always now remain part of what we do. For example, we just did an event with Michelle Obama and her Becoming Me series, and 100,000 Girl Scouts from all across the world were able to join in that program, have follow-up curriculum outside of that national platform. We couldn't have done that before. So I think, like I said, I think there's some great silver linings to answer part of the question. What did we have to do very specifically? You're right. We weren't able to recruit in schools. We weren't able to hold meetings in schools or churches or libraries or any of the places girls would typically meet. So we partnered with Zoom nationally, and we were able to get our troop leaders very, very low cost troop licenses so they could do Zoom meetings. We provided them with PPE kits for when, and this all ebbed and flowed, as you guys know, with the Back on Track. There were moments where we thought, oh, we could open up, and troops are kind of small, 8 to 10, if families were willing. So we provided resources for our troops to do in person where it was safe, to do hybrid if they wanted to do some in outdoors, backyards, and then some fully virtual. We opened our camps last summer in what we called Choose Your Own Adventure. So in the past, when you would have come to camp in a traditional way, you came with your family. So your mom and your dad and your aunt and your uncle and your neighbors came with you, and you did a kit that we provided, and you could experience one of our 5 camp properties. We had great feedback from that. So I would say everything we do, we tried to continue to do, but do it in a different way. And some of those pieces are going to stick around. Like I said, I think those were things that we're like so thankful for the pandemic to have pushed us into a place of discomfort, and build something outside the box. In terms of serving girls, that was hard. I think there was so much unknown. I think families didn't know, if I join, is my girl going to have the opportunity to be, right? Or is this going to be money lost? And so really, leaning into that and figuring out how to message that was hard for us. And as a result, membership did take a decline, 31% across the country. Membership is down because of in the pandemic year. So now we're looking at what does this look like for this fall, but what does this look like for the next 3 to 5 years as we recover? Because recover is not going to be, we've lost a couple classes of girls. So it's been hard, and maybe most importantly, I'm worried. I'm worried about our youth, and I'm worried about the things they've lost, the mental health, the questions that I know they're grappling with, right? And what I worry about the most is I could give my daughter an answer. Lucretia, you can give the girls in the center an answer, but they need to bounce it off each other. And so I worry that in the last 18 months, our youth have had all these inputs of information, whether it's been race and violence and illness, and for some families whose socioeconomics used to not be a problem are now a problem for the first time in their lives. And how do they take this all in? And what I think Girl Scouts provides is a place where you can talk about it with a peer. So I'm worried, like this whole troop, we all talk about having a tribe, right? I'm worried about our girls have lost a year of having a tribe where they get that social and emotional support. So that's what I think we're trying to combat proactively, is think about what does this look like for the future? How do we come back, and how do we give girls more than they've ever needed probably before? And what does that look like in Girl Scouts?
I think that's interesting. You say they've lost their tribe. I think that's so true in so many different ways. Where's their tribe? Is it with Girl Scouts? Is it at school? Is it on a sports team? Is it in their place of worship? Is it in their neighborhood? That they haven't had those opportunities. And Lucretia, that's different for your girls because they're not coming to you in the same way through the troops, but you have concerns as well. Talk about the concerns that you have because of the pandemic with the girls that you serve.
Oh, it's been really tough. I have to say, like, we're one big happy family. So if it happens to one of the families of the young ladies, it happens to us here. We just had one of our young ladies' brother. He was shot in front of his house on his birthday. So it's just been really hard for us around here. And we work really closely with the family, and especially the young lady. She's been with us every summer. She kind of drops in and out. Since the pandemic, we've never really lost the kids. They've always, if they have to hang out in the back of the building, if we're going to their house, sitting in our car, talking to them from the porch, on the phone, Zoom, we've never really lost contact. It's like, we've always we're like this. And I think it's mainly because this is a small community of people. And most of the staff here, we also live in this community. So it's been really tough. A lot of the cries I hear from the young ladies is the being social with peers. I know that for a good minute, a lot of the kids were kind of stuck in the house, and that's where we came to them. I was not going to allow that to keep me from making the connections and being able to know how I need to advocate for these kids. We were just, it just was it's been a tough time. Again, our doors have never been closed. We just made it possible to be able to keep these connections with these young ladies and try to stay close to them as we can. With this happening, with the pandemic happening, I've noticed it's been a little bit of more of an uproar in these communities. with the conflicts and with the gun violence. It's just been a lot more. And I think that's why with what's going on today, advocating for teen girls is like a thing for me. We have like two of our young ladies that have had babies during this time. And, you know, I feel so sad because it's like we've been around them enough and we try to teach them about healthy relationships. But it's like when we're not around them as much as we were, you know, then you see the teenage pregnancies. You know, they're not getting that counsel from us, and they're not able to hear, you know, that to wait, you know, to be able to wait. And we haven't been able to do that with them. So now that things are kind of opening up a little bit more, I'm praying that we can see them a little bit more.
Are you noticing, because of the pandemic, that girls are engaging in more risky behaviors, or less than, because there's more isolation, so they're not together as much, and encouraging negative behaviors with each other? How do you see that landing?
I feel that when it first happened, we all were in fright, and we were at home and we were afraid, we were inside. The kids maybe did more communicating through the internet, the phones. So I noticed that it wasn't as much conflict on the streets in the neighborhoods here, but I see now that it's kind of getting loose a little bit. They're so excited and free, you know, and it's, you know, they haven't been around these, their peers, and, you know, maybe they're bumping heads because they haven't been around each other as much. You know, there's a little bit more conflict, but our doors are open. So we're out in the communities, and our community bidders, we're out here in the communities, and we're trying to make sure we get them back into our loving arms.
That's awesome. I think that people might be curious. This question is for both of you. If you have any requirements relative to vaccination in order for people to participate in your programming, or if you're not making those choices. Those are really hard question, a really hard question people are wrestling with across our country.
Not at this time for us. We are still social distancing. We are still wearing masks. In the summer, because we'll have a little bit more children, we're going to have tents put up in the back so we can have more kids and we can have more space. So we not at this time.
Mm-hmm. Danielle, what about Girl Scouts? Is that something that you all have wrestled with? And is that a council decision or a national decision?
Certainly wrestling with it. I think maybe the difference for us is the age, right? So we serve girls as young as 5. And so the opportunity for requiring of a vaccination for involvement is not even a choice for much of, you know, for a big part of our population. And it is a local choice. You know, that's actually been a really interesting piece of Girl Scouts as I get to participate across the country with my peers. And there's 110 councils and 110 of myself. Is we've all been in so many different places, depending on what part of the country they're in. So it has to be a local decision. It's hard. And I'm thinking about my workforce too, right? I have 125 employees. We have summer staff, different levels of comfort. I know 78% of my staff have been vaccinated. Certainly we're encouraging it. We donated 70,000 boxes of Girl Scout cookies to the governor to give out at vaccination testing sites. So we want to be a positive role model, but we also want to, again, I don't see us requiring that because, again, of the age of our girls. So for this summer, they're having hula hoops, like physical hula hoops at camp, where they're going to measure their personal space with a hula hoop and then put it down. And they're going to, you know, we're going to, you know, decide on masks when they're outside, depending on, you know, all those things. But yeah, it's every day is an adventure at Girl Scouts.
So tell us a little bit about how you go camping as you're emerging from a pandemic, because you did some really great things last summer. Yeah. And how, what are you doing this summer for Girl Scout camp?
Because Choose Your Own Adventure we have 5 camp properties in central Indiana. And because Choose Your Own Adventure and family and troop camping was so popular last summer, and because we knew staffing was going to be really hard, and staffing is our biggest barrier right now to getting girls back to camp. The desire to be at camp is huge. In fact, we are sold out for every week at our 2 camps where we're offering sleepover camp and day camp. And the 1 week where we're not sold out, it's because we can't get it staffed. I was just on the news with Rich Van Wyk right before this. And so we put out an all call yesterday to say we're in a crisis mode of having to cancel if we can't get more staff. So I guess where I was going with that was we are offering 2 properties with sleepover and or day camp, 3 properties with choose your own adventure with your family and or your troop. How does it look different? We did 50% capacity in the sleeping units. So where it used to be 6 girls would sleep in a platform tent, it's going to be 3. And that was in part because we did a survey of our families who have been camp participants in the past. We did it in January. And really we said, what criteria would have to be in place for you to feel safe sending your daughter this summer? And that was the number 1, that the sleeping, because they understood outdoors is outdoors, fresh air, spread out and all those things. But sleeping was the one place where they asked us to consider lowering our ratio this summer.
So there you have somewhat of a captive women's fund audience here. So why don't you share with us what you shared yesterday when you say you need more staffing in order to have camp? Are you looking for volunteers? Are you looking for paid staff? And what kind of time commitment are you looking for?
Excellent. I appreciate the commercial. So 2 different things. If it's Camp Delwood, which is the camp here in Indianapolis, we're 3 miles from the Motor Speedway. To give you context geography wise, we have 1 week of camp, and it's the June 21st week that we're in risk of having to cancel. And that week is a volunteer-led camp week. So that week we need volunteers.
And what would those volunteers do?
They would actually lead a group of girls, not in the program content. Our staff would run, the curriculum, the riflery, the archery, the pedal cars in the STEM program or whatever. So it's really being that girl, the female mentor to that troop, to the group of girls as they travel through the day. It's not sleepover, so you can come in the morning, you leave at night. So that one's just volunteers. You would have to go through a little bit of training, a couple hours of training before that week. And ideally, we would like for the same person to volunteer for all 5 days. It's hard when there's the inconsistency of the adult coming and going throughout the week. We really run this camp as kind of the first camp. So it's a lot of little girls. And so again, that consistency is important.
And so it's, tell me how old do you have to be a volunteer?
Sure.
And what's the time commitment besides those 5 days? Are you there from 10 to 2 and you can come and go as you want? Probably not.
No, it's about an 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. commitment, Monday through Friday for that week.
And how old do your volunteers have to be?
18.
18 years old.
At least 18.
And how many do you need?
We are in need that week for about 30 more volunteers.
I think it would be really cool if we had a group of women's fun friends who came to volunteer for
You too.
Camp Delwood the week of June 21st.
Yes.
So Lucretia, let's talk about how things have changed about how you're doing your programming this summer. And if we need to do a commercial for volunteers for your work as well, then let's do it.
I guess we can always use volunteers with our reading program. That way kids can have their own reading tutor with them, and versus one reading specialist with 2 kids or 3, maybe it can just be one-on-one. We always need help in our literacy area, always.
And how old do your volunteers have to be, and what kind of time commitment are they looking at?
They can be 16, 17. We have Butler students that come in. We have Rebuff that comes in. So they can be as young as 16.
And then what?
In the hours, 9 to 11.
9 to 11 a.m.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. All right. So now we've got that commercial for volunteers in, and Women's Fund will share this information with our attendees today as well. So tell us how programming is changing this summer as you're coming out of a pandemic, Lucretia. What kind of programming are you going to be doing with the girls that you're working with?
Well, again, it's not changed much. Just kind of reminding them to keep those hands washed, make sure their faces covered when they're in the building. A lot of things that they're going to be doing this summer will be like in the community. So they're going to do like a lot of things at Butler Tarkenton Park that's right behind, right in front of the building. I'm sorry. They'll be working in that area. there's a young lady that is the assistant. Her name is Tashara. She's actually working on like a schedule for them now. I know they're going to definitely do the nonviolence training. That will be one thing that they're going to be working on. I think there's a couple of other things that she's trying to see that they can be a part of. Again, with the pandemic, I'm not sure about the numbers. I know, well, last year we did get to go to Gleaners, but I'm not sure if they'll be able to do that this year. Volunteer there, and then changing footprints. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. That's it's like a warehouse up on I think 70, well, maybe 87th, the Meridian, but they take in donations of shoes from all over the place, and they try to donate them out to community centers. So our girls will go in and sort those shoes and package them, and we don't deliver, but they deliver them to different organizations that are their kids or families are in need of shoes. So we usually do that too. Again, I don't know what that looks like because of the pandemic and the number, they want the numbers to be 10 or less, but again, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. So
I love that you have your girls do volunteer work.
Oh yeah, well. That's very, very, very important. I tell them, like, when you go volunteer, you never know if they're hiring, go in there and be your best you, and you might get a job there one day. So, volunteering is good. And then also the feel of it, giving back. Instead of, I always tell them, you ask for stuff, but the feel of giving back when you leave there, these places, we usually go into the nursing homes as well and do give them like homemade cards. We make our cards and we go in and volunteer there too. Like when they have, they may be serving lunch when we go in, and we kind of help the CNAs serve the lunches. But again, with the pandemic, I don't know what that's going to look like. I have been in contact with one of the activity director at the nursing home that we usually go to, and she mentioned maybe having an outdoor lunch, just because we've been coming every year, and she didn't want to the seniors to miss out, nor the kids. Again, it's always, I always want the kids to have a feeling like they're making a difference, because they really don't realize how much they're making a difference until they leave and they're all crying, "Oh my God, Miss Cree, I didn't know that this is like where they say old people go." But I didn't know it was going to be like that. And they're emotional. And I just like for them to be able to tap into that side of them, and just to be vulnerable. Like it's okay to be vulnerable. They live in these neighborhoods where they have to always be uptight, and I just want them to be able to be lax and to be able to feel vulnerability, and it's a good thing. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that is a good thing, and it gives them they are receiving benefit through the Mlk Center due to the generosity of other people, and so It's nice for them to see the other side of giving as well. I want to take a quick another PSA break for the Women's Fund attendees who are listening today. There at the bottom of the screen, you'll see where it says Q&A. You can leave a question in the Q&A, and then I will share those with Lucretia and Danielle as we move on. One of the things that I wanted to share, and this is another ask of our Women's Fund friends, many of you probably attend Power of Women's Fund Philanthropy on a regular basis, and may have been with us a few years ago when Soledad O'Brien was our speaker, and she was talking about the importance of reaching out and giving a hand up to people who do not enjoy the advantages that we do, particularly Black and brown girls. And she gave the example, she said, probably everybody who's in this room tonight could go to work tomorrow and pick up the phone and find someone that would help your child find an internship or a job. And she said, there's nothing wrong with that, but you should also be thinking about the girl who doesn't have a mom or dad with those connections. And that's really stuck with me. It's something Brian Payne, who's the president and CEO of CICF, the two of us talk about that a lot. And that can be hard to think about. How do I do that? What if I don't know the girl who needs something, or I don't know what she needs? I just invited Lucretia if she would like to bring one of the girls that she is working with to come to the IBJ 40 under 40 breakfast with me on Tuesday morning. And so the two of them are going to sit at my table. And we're going to provide some barrier busting dollars so Lucretia can take the young woman to get something that she would feel comfortable wearing that day and get her hair done. And that can be huge. She was giving me an example of someone she might bring, and someone who's worked really, really hard and been really determined. The 40 people who are being honored that morning come from all different life circumstances. Some of them might be starting in the same spot that Lucretia is describing, and some of them started on third base. And so for this young woman to have this experience, to see how other people have worked hard, and to see people dressed up and going to breakfast, and might be experience she hasn't had. So that's something to think about, Women's Fund friends, because we all know how hard it is to fill a table sometimes for a breakfast, a lunch, or whatever. And they are going to be coming fast and furious in the next several months when organizations can start having their events again. And so if you're ever trying to fill a table and you would like to do something like this, let me know, let Julie Cagle know, let Leslie Bowles know, and we can connect you with Lucretia and lots of other folks who are working with girls who would appreciate that same kind of experience as well. And, you know, I think the same would probably go with Danielle and some of the Affinity Troops that you were talking about, where you might have, oh my gosh, like I cannot fill one more table, but it's really important to my company to support an event. I'm sure that Danielle could also say, yeah, we would love to bring one of our affinity or push-on troops to participate in something like that. And I'm hoping that Women's Fund, that you will see that not only making your financial contributions to Women's Fund helps us make investments in women and girls and help them have opportunities, but there's also ways for you to individually touch women and girls, because a lot of times with Women's Fund, it's harder to see the impact because we're not as hands-on organization. We're making investments in women and girls. That there are ways like this that we will push out to you. So there's a question in the Q&A that there was recently a post on the MLK Instagram that there's a capital improvement campaign happening, and this person's curious about the changes to your building and how that will impact programs and girls you serve. And I know that you have Allison Luthi sitting in the wings, and if you want to have Allison
I will
answer that question or give you cue cards, that's fine if you don't know those details. Hi, Allison.
Yeah,
Allison
sure. Hi.
is the executive director of MLK. Thank you for stepping into the screen.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I've told staff I wasn't burdening them with all the details, but we did just receive a grant for $1 million from United Way of Central Indiana. And so we have a few $1,000 left to go, but we will be making some improvements to our building in phase 1. For anybody who doesn't know, we're at the corner of 40th and Illinois. And then we'll get a new HVAC system, so the girls aren't too cold or too hot, which is part of the problem right now. It's never the right temperature. And some new windows. They're all original to our building when we bought it from the AAA Hoosier Motor Club in 1997. And then this is part of phase 1. So phase 2 will be expanding and adding some more classroom space and community space, and that's what will help us serve more people. We're kind of at capacity as far as space. There's nowhere for any staff to sit. We have 24 employees, and there's nowhere for anybody to sit, and there's only 1 or 2 gathering spaces for youth. So we want to be able to spread them out. But thank you for asking. And so you can make a donation or spread the word to folks about our website or Instagram. Those should be happening later this year. So the building will be closed to volunteers, but it's only supposed to take 4 to 6 months.
Congratulations. That's
thanks.
Everybody likes a nice $1 million grant.
Yeah.
Women's Fund would be happy to have one of those too. I'm sure that Danielle would not say no, thank you to $1 million grant. So Danielle, if someone was going to write $1 million check to Girl Scouts, do you have an idea that's sitting over here on, you know, in your hip pocket, right? That maybe you don't have anybody asking. What would you do if someone was ready to write $1 million check to Girl Scouts?
Um, so yeah, I have lots of them, but probably the one that's probably closest to fruition and that $1 million would just like make it happen tomorrow is Camp Delwood is 170 acres right in central Indiana. We serve Girl Scouts on the weekends, right? We do it in the summer for camp, but it's also our STEM center of excellence. We have a math and science center with classrooms. We have a maker space in the outdoors. We have so many really cool outdoor elements, from these new pedal push cars to a mountain bike track to riflery, and all of those outdoor stations we are pairing with STEM curriculum. So my dream is, Jennifer, that we could open up Camp Delwood Monday through Friday and have it be a destination for students all across Indianapolis, boys and girls, come experience really this STEM hands-on curriculum that, again, because we have these national partners, have written some really, really cool, rigorous curriculum content to go with these outdoor elements. And it's unique. I mean, where else can you take the lesson of a mountain bike and, you know, look at that through a lens of STEM? So that would be one dream I would have.
I love that. So I would, as we're coming to close to the end, I would like it if both of you could share what gives you hope right now, and maybe even have an example of a specific girl that is symbolic of the hope that you see in the young women that you serve. And Lucretia, you look like you're getting ready to bust out with the story, so you can go first.
Oh my gosh. What gives me hope is when I see the little people that come in and they're maybe coming into our program and they're in a kindergarten and they stay in our program and they end up getting to where they would be with me as a teenager. And I don't know. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
When they come back here, you know, after they've gone and, you know, they've gone on to high school and they come back and they say thank you. Then I know I've done what I was supposed to do. I know that we're making a difference here every day with the little people.
I think that anytime someone answers a question like you just did with tears in your eyes, can tell that you're in the right spot and that you are making a difference, because you're investing your heart and your soul and all of your energy, you're pouring it into those girls. And so I can see how you would feel very emotional about that. And for all the girls who say thank you, I'm sure there's just as many who don't say thank you because they don't have the words, they don't have the ability to do it yet. So Danielle, what about you?
Similar, and I think it's every girl's individual story and their path is different. So I'll end with a story of a girl, and her name's Sophie. It's like one of my favorite Girl Scout stories. And so Sophie was a student in Hamilton County when there was a school shooting in Noblesville, and she wanted to take that hurt in her community and turn it into something positive. So she partnered with her school corporation to bring Eva Corps, and this was about 6 months before Eva Corps' death. And obviously didn't know it at the time. But because she learned that Eva Corps' story was of forgiveness. And even in the trials that she went through with the concentration camps and with her twin sister, that ultimately she just forgave, and why that was an important message for a community who was going through this. So all of the students, middle school and high school, got to hear from Eva. She opened it up in the evening to a sold out crowd at church. She took the money earned from the tickets in the evening and helped pay off student lunch accounts for students in the area who had lunch account balances through the Angel Fund. And then she invited Girl Scout troops from all over central Indiana to come have small group lessons, and Eva was a participant in that. And that's the stuff that gives me hope. When I see, and when she started this, she was 15. Oh my gosh, that was actually a title of something I wrote. I'm like, I don't know what you guys were doing when you were 15, But that's what gives me hope. I see these girls as young as 8 and 10 and 15 and 18 making a difference. And that difference is going to last beyond, because when she moved past this project, she worked with WFYI to build Holocaust education kits for every classroom to be utilized even after she left Zionsville High Schools, where she went to school. So that's the kind of stories that I get to hear and witness in girls who are making the world a better place.
I love that. And I hope that all of our Women's Fund friends who are here seeing how your investments are making a difference in really different ways in our community. And that's what our mission is, that we want to mobilize people, ideas, and investments so every woman and girl in our community has an equitable opportunity to reach her full potential, no matter her place, race, or identity. And there are really good things and really bad things happening, no matter your place, race, or identity. And so the fact that Friends of Women's Fund are making investments so we can pour those dollars and that support in our community leadership into organizations like the Mlk Center and like Girl Scouts really is making a transformative difference. So I thank you for being here today. And for everybody who's a friend of Women's Fund, I wanted to let you know that we have our engagement committee has now made a commitment that every time we have an event like this, that somebody from the committee will be reaching out to say thank you to everybody who attended and receive your feedback and learn more about your support of Women's Fund and your thoughts as well. And Danielle and Lucretia, the fact that you would spend an hour with us in the middle of what is a tremendous amount of work. There are not enough hours in the day for everything that you do. We don't take that for granted. We know that it was a big deal for you to do this. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope that you enjoy a nice break this long weekend that's coming up. And I wish you and all the girls that you serve a summer of peace and learning and growth, and that the two of you will continue to be enriched and sustained in your work by the people that you serve. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank
Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for being here. Bye.
Bye.